Let's crack open a beer and share some thoughts.
Definitely get the line.
Yeah, the line's coming out
on the nose, don't you?
Bizarrely, less so on the flavour.
It's really light on the flavour.
Yeah,
isn't it? It's a little bit floral.
Yeah. What it's got over Desperados is it's not as gassy. Desperados is terribly gassy. I did go through a phase of drinking a lot of Desperados when it was still a better option than other bottles.
That's all right though, isn't it?
And also because it said it had a bit of tequila in it.
Is it tequila?
No, in the
agave nectar.
The Desperados.
Oh, okay, Desperados. So
probably a really minuscule amount.
Yeah, but what we're drinking here is the first of our supermarket sweet beers. So this one's from Tesco's. This is Numero Uno from Flying Dog in the States. Now, tell me, 2 years ago, would you have ever thought you could have bought Flying Dog in Tesco's?
No. When I saw it, because I had my logistical cock up a couple of weeks ago before the bottle share extra at Sean's, and I had to pop in there, and I saw that in there, I thought, and that same thought occurred to me there and then, like, Flying Dog.
Yeah.
I used to, almost blow a gasket when I saw it in a pub, let alone in a Tesco.
I know. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where we're at right now with the beers that you can buy in a supermarket.
Yeah. And they all seem to be up in their game again.
Yes. Yeah.
In varying degrees. So while that competition is going on at the moment, I'm more than happy. I have to admit.
Me too.
They can just carry on outdoing themselves.
Yes, just keep bringing in the new beers.
I mean, I was saying to you earlier, M&S.
Yeah.
Had Stone IPA canned on the 1st of February, and I saw it there 1st of May. Saw it there yesterday.
That's
a month old.
5
weeks.
Yeah, I mean that's just like I say. I mean, and that's this week's show. It essentially, isn't it? We're talking about the availability of beers in the supermarket, but at the same time, very shortly, what our listeners are going to hear is us hosting Craft Beer Hour.
Yeah, the Craft Beer Hour you volunteered us for, wasn't it, Steve?
That's the one. But we're starting off this evening with Numero Uno from Flying Dog. It's a agave cerveza, which is a lager beer brewed with agave nectar and lime zest added. So available in Tesco's at £1.80 a can.
And yes, the lime is very rich on the nose. It has almost got a lime cordial.
But not so on the flavour.
It's
just not there.
No, it's really soft on the flavour.
Yeah. It's really well balanced, and yes, I mean you can't get away from the fact that it's essentially a lager and lime.
It is a lager and lime, but one of my first introductions to beer as a kid, living above the off licence, was Top Deck Shandy.
Yep.
And there was, I think, two of that one, and one of them was the lager and lime version. Or lime and lager might be a better way of putting it. There wasn't much lager in it.
Yeah.
But I would find it really refreshing. I mean, again, it's a nice summer's day today. You could easily sink a few of those cold.
Quite easily.
If that was your only option, you'd happily take that.
Yeah, and with its availability as well.
Yeah.
I can see that one flying out over the summer.
It's a great can. It's a summer can as well. Because Flying Dog had bright colours anyway. Yeah. And that immediately says Mexican on it.
Yeah.
With the colours.
4.9% in the slightly bigger US style cans as well. So we'll come back to that anyway. So let's crack on because obviously we do have a live hour to host soon. Beery Adventures. I'm going to go out there and say I've got nothing this week apart from a memory which I've tried to erase, which was the Essex bottle share, where every fuckable some sort of Belgian shout, sour, funky, fucking abomination, and I didn't have a great time. The only thing that saved me was the fact that they were serving Cannonball on keg, and I was essentially chasing every beer with Cannonball. You were.
I'm going to start off by saying that yes, the Cannonball on keg, which I had after the bottle share, and the Oakham Citra, which I had on cask before the bottle share, which I think I may have had 2 or 3 pints of that one. They were bang on form.
Yeah.
Both of them were bang on form.
Cannonball is the best I've tasted it outside of Leeds or Huddersfield ever last week.
I'd agree with that. And I've had it less than you.
Stunning.
But I'd agree with that completely. And I think you were drinking it about 5 minutes after Mark Johnson had posted the post.
Yes.
Posted a blog, a tweet saying, just saying, this is tasting fantastic, wherever he was at that time as well. So whatever, if it was the same batch which they got out to many places, I don't know, but it was banging, that was. The bottle share, yes, apologies, I meant to send you the memo.
Yeah, it did feel like you sent everyone a memo to say we're doing Belgian night tonight, don't tell Steve.
Everyone snigger.
Yeah, because I rocked up with 2 cans of IPA and it was Belgian from wall to wall. So
yeah, it was an unusual night because there had been no chat beforehand, and yes, it was a Belgian funk saison sour night. So much so that even I think one of the beers was so bad we actually chucked at the end of it.
Yeah, was that the one that I lovingly entitled on my sheet "More Wank"?
Yes. You didn't really say much other than that. Shit, wank, etc. Repeat.
Yeah.
But as ever, it was good catching up with everyone.
It was a great night. I've got to admit the bottle shares are always a good night when we just get to sit down and share beers and catch up and just have some laughs.
Yeah, and that's what it was. And yes, some of it was at your expense, seeing your face.
Yes,
so I'll admit that.
I do believe there's a gift doing the rounds.
Yes. Yeah. I forgot about that. Clayton did that one, didn't he?
Yeah. I'm not putting that in the show notes. You can try and find it yourself.
Okay, yeah. I'll share it if anyone else. The Victoria Inn had a beer festival on Saturday. So anyone who listens will have heard me talk about the Victoria Inn before.
Yeah, this was the London Beer Festival, wasn't it?
London Calling, it was entitled, and it was essentially London cask beers. So they had 17 or 18 on Gravity outside at the back. They had 5 on hand pull, and they had a couple on keg as well. Juice Box was on keg, so that's always nice to have. But 2 standouts, which I don't often get hold of, was 5 Points Railway Porter and the 5 Points Pale Ale, both on cask, both tasting absolutely fantastic.
I bet that Railway Porter on cask was something to die for.
It was lovely because it was a warm day on Saturday, but again, we've spoken about it before. It was a cellar temperature porter.
Yeah.
So it wasn't room temperature, it was cellar temperature, and it went down a treat. They did only come in pints as well that day.
Sometimes beers only do come in pints. Yeah. It's quite amazing.
I don't know how that happens. And just one other beer I want to give a bit of a shout out to, and it's following on a bit from the Essex Bottle Share. I had a fierce beer sour called Tropical Tart.
Okay.
And I think you would like this one. Okay.
Go on then.
It's I've written down here on Untapped, one of the best sounds I've had, fruity tart with a gentle sharpness. Michelle loved it as well because we were just sharing a couple of bottles last night, and it was banging. It was just it had a lovely sweetness without being cloying, and the slightly sour sharpness just sort of balanced it out rather than being the predominant feature. So if you see that, I'd give it a go if I was you.
Okay, that's from Fierce Beer?
Fierce Beer.
You say?
Yeah, that was in my Imbria Discovery quarterly case, so I've really enjoyed it.
I've got to say, I've always been quite impressed with Fierce Beer beers. Anyway, I don't think I've had one that I've not been too taken by just yet.
I'd agree with that. The ones I've had so far, I think I've had 3 or 4 now, I think have been really good, really high quality. But that one, just because it is a sour, but a slightly different one. Yeah. Slightly different. They've taken a lot of the edges off it.
I'm not completely adverse to sours.
I know, but there was a lot of edgy. There was a lot of Belgium-y. This doesn't have a Belgium.
Go back to last week's show when we did the acid jam, which was a shower. I enjoyed that.
It was more in that ilk, but obviously about half the strength. But it was more in that ilk of the acid jam. That's a good example actually. So it was more like that. But yeah, that was my beer adventure. So fairly low key compared to the last couple of weeks.
I think for both of us.
Yeah,
really.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, sometimes we just need to.
Sometimes we need to do that.
Just need to take a bit of a rest,
especially before we do supermarket sweep.
Absolutely, which is possibly going to be a little bit of carnage this evening. Anyway, before we get on to that, let's crack through this week's news. So, at the end of last week's show, we had the breaking news that Dogfish Head had asked for their beers to be removed from Rate Beer as a result of ABI investing into rate beer, and we, as a result of that, we did see a couple of other breweries start requesting as well.
See, I didn't see it. So who else requested the same thing?
Cantillon were one of them.
Oh, really?
Had asked for their beers to be removed.
Well, they're quite big on that, aren't they? Because when ABI bought out the Italian brewery whose name escapes me, or I can't say.
Birra del Borgo.
Thank you. They dropped them from the concessions, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Like a hot potato.
Yes. One of the breweries in the States, Noble Ale Works in California, have been into their rate beer account and have changed all of their beers to beer names to the same thing, called Beyonce Had the Greatest Album of All Time. So every one of their beers on rate beer is now called Beyonce Had the Greatest Album of All Time. And they also then went in and started changing some of the descriptions of their beers to Rick Astley lyrics as well. So clearly one brewery that wasn't very happy.
So that's mildly amusing from the outside looking in, but if that was on Untapped and that was my beers I tapped in,
wouldn't be very happy.
I wouldn't be happy at all.
No, absolutely
that
not.
would do my nut in.
Yeah. And then just continuing on that theme as well, we had there was a post from Craig Garvey at CA Garvey, and this will be in the show notes. Now Craig's a big rate beer fan and user, and he's very passionate about it. So he wrote a blog explaining why he uses it so much and what he gets out of it. So there's a link to that in the show notes. Have a read through that, because it will give I think the thing that we said in last week's show was we didn't feel as though we had a rate beer user's point of view.
No, we haven't got that knowledge either.
No, so I think Craig's post
cool, that'd be good.
gives that. So to give that a read, that'll be in the show notes. And then finally, Goose Island released a new beer this week called Midway Session IPA. But it's being brewed under licence at the aforementioned Birra del Borgo. So it's not being brewed in America, and in fact, the beer isn't being brewed or sold in the US at all. And this is all coming from Matt Curtis at Total Curtis, who's released this information on Twitter today. So what he's saying is, what we're beginning to see is ABI specifically tailoring a brand it has purchased for other markets, in this case the UK, Australia and Mexico. And is this the start of seeing their use of rate beer data as a way to brew beers that are for specific audiences?
It's similar to what we were saying last week. Is one of our, what is in it for ABI, and we sort of said, well, they could sort of have that discussion with Camden and say, well, look, this is what's missing from the bar, or this is what's really popular. You guys need to get some of this out there. You brew it, we'll put it in the bars.
Yeah. So
it's a similar sort of theme, and it could be. I mean, they've been having access to this data presumably for the last 8 months or so.
Well, it would appear so, yeah, because this deal was done a long time ago.
Yeah. So I think it's quite possible that they could be using it, and even if they're not, they've still got the access to it. They will still have a flavour for what's going on before, during, and after the rate beer thing. But I think they've now got a level of granular detail that will be very useful to them.
Yes, absolutely, and I think we're just going to see more and more of this.
Yeah.
So just on that, obviously, Goose Island have released a new beer this week. It's a lower percentage IPA called Goose Midway, 4.1% session IPA, bright hop aroma with tropical mandarin notes. Currently only available on keg in the UK. We have asked for a list of stockists, and if we get that, we will include it in the show notes so that you can give that a try. Other news this week, following on from the success of Hop City in April, Northern Monk announced the start of Hop City Sessions this summer. So this is going to be a series of one-day events. First one on Saturday the 1st of July, and will feature beers from Northern Monk, Cloudwater, Verdant and Daya. So they're continuing with the kind of...
maintaining the theme then.
Yes, carrying that through. So more information on that from Northern Monk, either, it looks like on their Facebook page, this one, or just check out their website for more information on that. And then finally, Manchester Beer Week starting soon, starting on the 24th of June, and they've come up with some more new ideas where they're now teaming up independent food and drinks producers to create unique beers. So you've got Runaway are working with Pollen Bakery, Cloudwater are working with an ice cream parlour, those sorts of things for Manchester Beer Week. So again, exciting stuff.
Well, they're throwing lots of different things in there, aren't they, for Manchester Beer Week?
It's going to be a really busy week, and I'm really looking forward to heading up.
Yeah, how many days are you spending up there?
I'm going up on the Thursday, so I'll be up there for
Thursday
4 days.
night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, coming home late on Sunday as well. So I'm hoping to get to the Manchester Homebrew Exposition at Beer Nouveau.
Okay, are we recording on that Monday?
We are.
Good luck, Steve.
Yeah. Remember Broken Steve?
Yeah.
The previous days of Indie Man. Might be some of that going on. So yeah, that's this week's news. So we are now going to crack straight in this week to the Price is Price. Because we want to make sure we've got everything out of the way before we start the madness that will be Craft Beer Hour.
Okay, well, it was an easy one for me this week. It was a standout.
Was it me?
No.
Okay.
Joey's Beer Whimsy, because he did this.
Okay, that's brilliant.
Yep.
That is really, really good.
So, picture of a neck oil session IPA, which he says he hasn't had for a while. So the new can design, which I'm still learning to get used to, learning to like myself. And he's done some Lego skeletons in front of it as well, and the colours look really fantastic together.
Beginning to a theme in your choosing that anything involving Lego and beer, you tend to be leaning towards. That's the second Lego.
Well, it helps. He's put a sonic screwdriver in there, you might win.
Okay, yeah. Not pandering to your Doctor Who edition in any way.
No, at all. So that one will be linked in the show notes as well. And yeah, by the time the show you listen to this, I'll probably have tweeted it, Facebooked it, Instagrammed it, and almost sent it to every listener anyway.
Absolutely.
So big box of nothing to Joey's Beer Whimsy. I'm not even sure if he listens.
Congratulations, but that's a first time.
He's definitely a first time winner.
First time winner.
Yeah.
If you want to have your chance at winning the great big box of nothing next week, put a picture on Instagram, use hashtag cheers guys, and if it's the one featuring Lego, sonic screwdriver, or whatever it is that excites Martin at that particular point in time, you may very well win the big box of nothing. Just to say, before we go into the live craft beer hour, if you want to get involved in the shows, tweet us using the hashtag Hopinions, and we will pick that up and we'll make sure that we mention any of your questions or comments in our normal Bitter and Lingonist section, which will return to next week's show. And also, just to mention at this point as well, we are still running the listener survey. We've still not got enough responses at the moment to give us any real meaningful data. So if you do listen to this show, please click through on the link in the show notes, and that will help us to get data about the show that will help us tailor it to make it better for you. So that's I can't stress how important that is. Right, we've finished our lager.
Yeah, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it.
Went down quickly.
Completely inoffensive.
Easy to drink.
Would much rather drink cans of that than cans of your macro produced
You
stuff.
could turn up barbecue before the barbecue's really kicked off.
Yeah.
While people are cooking, all that smoke. You could have a few of those quite easily.
Away you go. Yeah. So we're on to beer 2 of our supermarket suite, and this is Hitachino Nest White Ale, which again from Tesco's, £2 for this bottle.
I've definitely seen this beer from this brewery in a couple of Japanese restaurants and sushi bars in London. Definitely wasn't £2. I can remember that much.
I've only previously seen it in Waitrose and on some online stockists as well.
It's an unusual one to find, isn't it?
Yeah, but what I wanted to do was, and I'll hold back on mentioning this.
Okay.
Well, no, I'm going to mention it now quickly. I'm looking at the time. Looking around the supermarkets for beers for tonight. What I found was, and a lot of people are going to find this very strange, was I was fed up with only seeing IPAs on shelves. That's all I could find in supermarkets was different IPAs.
That's because it's all about Steve.
Apparently so, but what I wanted to do was to bring to this show and to Craft Beer Hour a range of different styles of beers, which I think we've managed to achieve.
Yes.
So we've had a lager, we've got a white ale here, there are a couple of IPAs coming, obviously, and then we're going to finish with a stout. But so this is the Hitachino Nest White Ale.
Cheers.
Cheers. What do you think of this?
It's definitely got a bit of a fruity, wheaty nose,
It's got a
doesn't it?
wheaty nose, but not overpowering it.
That's a different take on a wheat beer. Feels like there's something else in there which I can't quite put my finger on. Something in the background.
There is, but I quite like that. It's quite sweet, isn't it? There's quite a sweet finish to it.
says a wheat beer brewed with coriander, which usually is an off-putter for me, orange peel and nutmeg.
Might be the nutmeg.
Might be the nutmeg, because that's an unusual... I mean, you're almost getting into, a few more things. We're getting into Christmas beer territory.
That's Christmas spice there, isn't it?
And then the less said about that, the better.
Yeah.
A refreshing beer with spicy notes, a soft flavour and mild acidity, produced with wheat malt. It must be the nutmeg, because that's definitely adding something different to the flavour to me.
Sweetness, isn't it?
But it has got very soft mouthfeel.
Balances out nicely with the wheat.
Yeah.
As well, I find that it's one that I'm really enjoying as well. So this is going to take us into Craft Beer Hour.
It is.
And I make no apologies now for what you're going to hear in the next hour, because we are on the cusp of Craft Beer Hour. We are going to be recording and drinking
and tweeting and talking about tweets
and engaging and talking about tweets
and generally fucking it up.
It might work, it might not work, but let's just have some fun here. So I think we're about ready to go.
I think we are.
Don't you? Should we break Twitter for the evening?
Let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. So
I mean, to be honest, there's been a lot of people getting in on pre-craft beer out here.
Yeah, I may have driven a little bit of that.
Yes,
because I did get in early as well.
Jamie Day, first brew cracked open and ready for Craft Beer Hour. Tastes like one of those shit Mexican lime beers, sadly, and it's the Flying Dog one we've just had.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's quite interesting, because I actually quite enjoy. I got to say, I did enjoy the Flying Dog beer.
Yeah. But I know what you're saying. They've gone for a particular type of beer, and that beer is there, but it tops the ones that I've had before. It tops the macro ones I've had before.
But is it that they're simply trying to attract that market that's used to drinking the macro beer?
I think so. Like I said, I mean, I as soon as I saw the description and a bit of the aroma, I thought Desperados.
Okay.
That's what I thought of straight away. And I think a couple of supermarkets do almost like their own brand version of Desperados.
Yes, yeah.
And they're foul. Desperados I could do. So yeah, that's quite an interesting one. So yeah, Jamie Day, not just a beer, is not a fan.
Okay.
Of that one.
Well, we enjoyed it, and what we're going to try and do tonight is try and keep up with people's tweets as well, telling us what they're drinking. The intention for us tonight is at 9:10, which is 9 minutes away as we speak right now. We're going to put 4 polls live at once that are going to run for 40 minutes, and we're going to engage with people's views on those polls. Mostly about the beers that are available from supermarkets, but we're not going to forget our friends that run independent bottle shops and supply some of the best beers in the UK.
This isn't an instead of.
No,
let's be clear.
It's this is what's available.
Yeah, this is what's available, and in some places, this may be your best option by a long way.
Yeah, and it's that whole what a time to be alive.
Yeah,
isn't it? Because we've both said 2-3 years ago, what would you have been faced?
Well, the selection in your fridge, which you've picked up, from your local supermarket, which happen to be Tesco and Morrison's, that ain't happening.
No, it's not. And I mean, I can't find it now. James at Gammon Baron, who's a regular contributor to the show, has just tweeted an image of 5 beers from 5 different supermarkets as well. So we've got Triple Hop from the Co-op. We've got Blood Orange Wheat Beer from M&S. So the Triple Hop is from JW Lee's from the Co-op.
Yep.
The Blood Orange Wheat Beer is an Adnams beer from M&S.
That's the can, isn't it?
Yep. You've got from Booths, you've got Brewdog's Pump Action Poet. From Asda, you've got Bad Co's Satisfaction. And then from Tesco, you've got Mr. President. What a selection of beers that are currently available from supermarkets.
Yeah, and a range of supermarkets.
Yeah.
I mean, Booths is obviously one which isn't really available to us down south, but we hear very good things about them.
Yeah.
We hear very good things about them.
I would love to have a Booths in my locale.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So let's see what a few people are drinking. So Rhythm and Brews, one half of us is drinking Vacation's Heart and Soul. After 2 home brews, it's definitely hitting the spot as a session. Lucas, the Hell's Lager.
There's a few people that are on.
That's more than one person who's got that, but
yeah.
Robert Hopsin is definitely having that. Seldom might get excited by a lager, but you can't question the quality. Picked it up from Asda in Shipley. I mean, Really? I mean, come on.
Thornbridge Lucas in Asda.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite amazing that this is even happening, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, it is quite hard to put into words at times, just the range which is now available. I mean, I think we've said it before, for us it's what? M&S is probably our favourite.
Yep. But
that's
just,
partly because they're in train stations as well.
Absolutely. But if you just take the initial run of tweets that we're getting, so we've been live for 4 minutes on Craft Beer Hour. Already the Twitter notifications are going nuts. I am looking at Goose Island IPA. I'm looking at Lucas. I'm looking at the Numero Uno that we've just drunk.
The wild beer in Kanzi. I mean, how's that ended up?
I mean, yeah, that's in Waitrose. you know, who would have thought that would have happened?
Yeah, and it's because River and Brews mentioned that before as well, and Birmingham Beer Week tweeted it as well. So I mean, you know, Ninkanzi. I mean, that's just amazing that appears in the supermarket.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it is unbelievable the range that is currently available in supermarkets these days, and a lot of people are being somewhat critical of that as well. Do you not think?
I think maybe what people have been critical about is perhaps some two things. One, it means that perhaps you will effectively the death of the traditional off license was brought back by supermarkets being able to stock alcohol.
Yeah.
And then not only stock alcohol, but then stock it at a cheaper price. So firstly, you had the convenience of going to a supermarket. You don't have to go to another shop. You buy everything in one hit. And then secondly, hold on a second, I can buy a slab of 24 for maybe the price of 16. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's where people are now, is that, okay, how does an independent, they can't match the price of those beers. But I think the point I've seen made before is, doesn't that free up shelf space for the next wave, for your indie bands, so to speak? The next lot coming up have a chance to get into the independent bottle shops and the online retailers. They can almost forget about having the Stone Go-To IPA and a few of the larger labels now that we have, and they can do those smaller ones. I love going into a bottle shop.
Yeah.
But for me, it's the equivalent of going into a sweet shop when I was a kid, and you could buy quarters of sweets into little paper bags. That's what's the equivalent
Absolutely.
of.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I can understand why people are critical, because like I said, the death of the off license, which I grew up above one, was the supermarket, because they couldn't compete. Mm-hmm. Convenience and price. That point still remains today. But there are plenty of small shops, boutique shops that compete with all the other ranges. Butchers. There are less butchers than there used to be, but the very good butchers are still around, because people want that quality meat.
It's interesting, because we've discussed this a number of times, haven't we? And certainly from my point of view, and people will probably be bored of me saying this by now, where I live, for me, supermarkets are an absolute godsend.
Oh, godsend for you!
Because it enables me to buy some kind of fridge staples.
You'd be screwed without Spoons and Tesco Morrisons.
I would.
Quite frankly, you'd have to travel and order. So it's quite simple. Yeah.
Right, let's catch up on some tweets quickly. So we've got Littlest Homebrew is drinking a Guinness Foreign Extra. I'm guessing that's come from Asda. You can normally pick them up in Asda for under £2.
And that is the best version of Guinness to my mind.
That is the absolute best version of Guinness. We've got John Sharrock at Metallic Geek is drinking all from Tesco's. He's got a Redwell Kofra Stout, which we're going to be getting onto a bit later
that's later on.
He's got the classic West Coast Stone IPA.
And why not?
And Robinson's Trooper. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, as Meatloaf once saying. Mark Young at Mark Monkey Young, drinking one of his staples from Morrison's New World IPA, which we are certainly going to be getting into in a while.
And speaking of the New World IPA, River and Brew said, did I spy a 4-pack? Did Steve wet himself when he bought it?
It's the second time I bought a 4-pack. Maybe wet myself the first time, not so much the second time. So we're getting a lot of people drinking some really interesting beers. I mean, there's a lot of the same stuff coming up, which is great, because it means it's available consistently across the UK, but we are seeing some little regional variations in there as well.
So John Graham, here's the hat trick for me. He's got Pennine Pale, Dale's Pale Ale and Stone IPA. They're getting everywhere.
Yeah.
Stone IPA and Go To IPA are appearing in a lot of places, but I guess they've got the Berlin office.
Yes,
churning that stuff out.
Yep.
Which I've been to, Steve. It's really nice. You should pop along one day.
I don't think you've ever mentioned.
No, I'll talk to you about it later.
Okay, please do. Bushcraft Beer at Bushcraft Beer, working late but still joining in on Craft Beer Hour with Beer O'Clock Show, drinking a Brooklyn Lager.
There's dedication. Can't quite see what's on his screen though.
No, absolutely not. Hoping that Michael makes a return to podcasting soon.
Michelle, my lovely girlfriend, is drinking one of the 500 millilitres Jaipur, which she picked up from M&S. I think it's the 500.
No, that's smaller than the 500.
No,
I know she's got tiny hands. But...
Whoops. There's the bottle opener.
Live podcasting.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
There you go. 500.
Wow, that's got to be old. That's all I can think about that one. Is that's got to be old. Right.
No,
so
she's enjoying it though.
We are closing in on launching the 4 polls right now. So we're going to put these live, and as I put them live, I will quickly run through them so our listeners know what we're doing. So poll number 1 is going to be: how often do you buy beer from supermarkets? Once a week, once a month, rarely or never. So that one's now live. Poll number 2 is: what is your average monthly spend on beers from the supermarket? Less than a tenner, £10 to £20 or £20 plus. Poll number 3 is here somewhere. Have you stopped buying beer from independent stockists because of supermarket ranges? Yes or no? No crazy third option on that one because we want to know people's views. And then poll number 4 is supermarkets increasing their beer ranges good, bad, or you're indifferent about it? So they are now all live, and we'll be taking people's views on those throughout the hour while we continue to join in drinking our supermarket sweet craft beer hour. Losing it already.
Oh dear.
10 minutes in. What are you thinking on the Hitachino Nest White? Maybe I need to stop speaking for a minute.
Yeah, and breathe. I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, it has got that. I'm assuming it must be the nutmeg. It's not something I would immediately associate with a wheat beer, but it's almost gone from a glass.
Yeah, same here.
So I'm assuming I must like it quite a lot. Just a question which came up from you, Brew. What's in your supermarket basket this time of year? Barbecue stuff, lagers or sours? Well, I think I can cross one of them out for you, Steve.
Absolutely. I want. I've got to admit, I'm a creature of habit. This time of year.
Do you go seasonal? Are you?
I'm a little bit seasonal, so I want something that's crisp and refreshing and is really gonna bring my palate alive. But I've said this before and I'll say it again. I don't think you can beat a nice cold porter or a stout at this time of year. If you get it to the right temperature, perfect.
I'd agree with that. Like I said, the railway porter I had it the other day. Although it wasn't cold, it was cellar temperature, and it was spot on. Absolutely spot on it was. So what else we got? We've got Sean, Plym Sean, who's leaving the Bird in Hand to move up to Yorkshire. He started off with a Punk IPA.
Okay, which obviously now
It's definitely
available in pretty much every supermarket.
Yes, that's definitely a supermarket staple, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wild Gravity IPA.
We'll just say to our listeners, if we do go quiet for a minute, it's because we're trying to respond to what's going on Twitter as well.
Yes.
Because primarily we're here to host Craft Beer Hour tonight.
So we need to remember to do that as well.
Yeah. But we are obviously also trying to record this week's again talking randomly right now, and we're only 2 beers in. Maybe it was the 3 beers I had in pre-craft beer hour that are letting me down a little bit. So Michael's back at Bushcraft Beer, just sharing with us one of his 3 Bullet Tuesdays where he was talking about supermarket beers that are now available. We've got somebody, so it's a Kaylee at Kaylee Pie. Alas, I don't think we've got any supermarket beer in, so we can't join in with Craft Beer Hour.
No, join in. Don't know.
Absolutely. We're just going to go back to Kaylee there. No, join in. Any beers count. And if people weren't thought we were messing about, you can actually hear me typing because I am quite a heavy typer. And I've got the laptop out because tonight's show is a laptop special. I do need to be tweeting from here, so we've got some more coming through. So beer tweets at Good Beer Tweet. I'm hoping he's not picked up the nano keg of Old Crafty Hen, and that he's just sharing a picture of that.
But if he has, I want to know what it tastes like.
Yes, let's.
Someone else can do that for us. That's fine.
Okay, so let's go back. So what does it taste like? This may be not so much fun for the listeners, but trust us, we are trying to do our best to do two things at once.
So the poll number 4 is supermarkets increasing their beer ranges, good, bad and different. We've got 23 votes on that one already, 36 minutes left, and it was is good is winning. First comment was from Chris Bradish, at Chris Bradish, can only be good as long as quality isn't compromised.
Absolutely, which I think we've spoken about before with what happened to a particular brewery last year when they put their beers into supermarkets and suddenly found that their quality wasn't quite what it used to be.
No, they did correct that pretty sharpish, and they don't appear to suffer too much, but they did have a bit of a down patch.
They did. So, any more feedback on any of the polls, mate?
Let's see what we got. Just trying to catch up on what a few people said. So Rob at Hopzine said about Dale's, not had it, fear it might be too old by the time it's got out of supermarkets, which I think we've spoken about that before as well.
Yes.
Is there a bit of a time lag also, that no cold storage chain as well? Phil Hardy, you'll not be surprised that I won't be pouring supermarket beers tonight. Birmingham Beer Week, Bud Light then. I wouldn't wash the car with that shite. No, probably wouldn't, because it might take the paint off, to be honest.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Phil, the owner of Otter's Tears.
Yes,
who
to put into context.
We've visited, so it's no surprise he's not drinking supermarket beers.
Poll number 4 again, increasing their beer ranges seems to be getting a bit of traction, up to 46 votes, 35 minutes left.
Okay.
The Owl Lady, good for enticing beer versions and increasing audience, bad for indies.
Okay, well that's interesting.
Yeah, because that's the sort of thing we touched on before the polls went out, didn't we? So I think there's enough room for both, because indies are indies. It's not like we used to have off-licence chains, didn't we? We had Unwins with Victoria Wine and numerous other chains of off-licences. Mm-hmm. They all went fairly much to the wall. I think you're left with basically Majestic now, is what you could class as wine merchants. I think there is room for indies, but if indies try to compete by having the same stuff as supermarkets, and they will probably fall down.
But again, this comes back to a discussion that we've had previously in terms of if I want a particular type of specialist beer, I will go to an independent store for that, or I will buy that online.
Exactly.
However, my fridge staples, I'm quite happy to go to my local Tesco or Morrison's. In fact, I'm more than happy now to make a weekly visit to Morrison's to get a 4-pack of New World IPA. Because it's for me, it's one of the best beers out there at the moment, and the fact that you can pick up 4 of them for just over £6 in Morrison's is an absolute winner.
So what we just poured then, Steve?
So this is again from Morrison's. This is Harbour, and it's Little Rock IPA at 6.3% in a can. As well, and it pours. I've got to say, it's very dark for an IPA.
It's very dark. It's got a very amber copperish colour, hasn't it?
It's. That is a very English style looking IPA. It's got a nose to match.
It's quite sweet.
Well. Yeah,
I've already had a bit of a sweet.
Have you?
Yeah, and it is quite sweet.
Right, well, we'll tuck into that in a second, because I feel as though we're getting behind on some of the tweets. So, Sophie Grumwell at Sophie G90, Supermarket Suite was all about Stone Brewing Co. IPAs. So she's got Go-To IPA, the IPA, and Cali Belgique IPA, all available from Tesco's, I believe. We've got Oliver Parsons is drinking a bourbon milkshake. Can't be found in the supermarket, but it had to be drunk today. Good luck on you as well. Get in there and get it drunk. I've got one of those in the cupboard actually that I'm really looking forward to drinking at some point. There are lots of people talking about. We've got John Graham. John Graham 82 has come back on one of the polls. This is the poll about how often do you buy beer from supermarkets. It's only if I remember when I go in. Wouldn't go out of my way for it, but would go out of my way for indies.
Okay, we got a reply from Colin Strong.
Oh, okay.
On again poll number 4. This definitely seems to be one that's popping up on my feed. Bit of an open question. Good for whom? Probably good for the newer consumer. Long term bad for smaller businesses, breweries, and communities. What do you think to that?
That's really interesting, actually, because obviously Colin works for Buxton, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's the head brewer at Buxton. And other than, I do believe Buxton put some of their beers into M&S a while back, into selected M&S stores. It's an interesting view on it, I think, because it's yes, it's making beer available to more people. I still don't think it's damaging independent stores. I don't know. Maybe if we've got any listeners that are involved in an independent store, let us know. Is it is it impacting on business?
I mean, it's hard for. Listen, I'm surmising that there's room, but maybe I'm completely away from the ballpark, and we'll get a whole load of indies contacting us after they listen to the show or read some of the tweets and say you're talking bollocks. It's putting us out of business.
Yeah, okay. Well, maybe we are.
But I mean, I sincerely hope not. I mean, you know, we offer discounts, 10% discounts with a number of the online and independent stores, and we want to carry on doing that. We want them to carry on thriving, and as far as I can tell, they are. So, but I may be talking absolute bollocks on that one. But my feeling is that depending where they pitch themselves.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So we've got some more drinks coming through. So we've got somebody drinking Saison, which was available in Tesco's.
Another Tesco one. They're definitely up their range, haven't they, in the last 6 months?
They have. And then we've got a great selection from Booths County, from @the_MoFad. We've got people drinking Alchemy beers. It's I mean the range of beers that we're seeing on the screen as we're chatting through this evening
is amazing.
Is amazing. Let's just take a step back and look at where the polls are right now. So poll 1, which was how often do you buy beers from supermarkets? We're coming up to halfway through the polls now. We've had 83 votes on this so far, and the majority here is going for 39%. Are saying about once a month on that one. So with a few people saying once every 2 weeks, people popping in and out. Rarely now, but 2 years ago at least monthly. That was the real Andrew Green. So you know, a few people saying yeah. It's only 4% saying never though, which is quite a low percentage. Poll number 2, what's your average spend on beers from the supermarket? 47%, less than a tenner. So that would suggest people are just popping in there for the odd beer here and there, or maybe some specials or whatever offers are on. Poll number 3, have you stopped buying beer from independent stockists because of supermarket ranges? And this is a key poll for me. So 80 votes so far, 95% of people have said no. So that would kind of support our view that actually independents aren't really suffering as a result. Yeah,
again, but I guess that's from us as consumers saying that, isn't it? So
yes, yeah. I mean, we're still waiting for. I've challenged back to Phil to see if he wants to come back on this and give us a bit more detail. And then poll number 4, is supermarkets increasing their beer ranges good, bad, or indifferent? 95 votes on this one, and 81% of people saying it's a good thing. So getting quite a lot of engagement from people.
And
those polls.
Chris Elston on the poll number 4 again. I think this is very good for various reasons, one of which will be explained in a forthcoming blog post. So let us know what that is, Chris, when it comes out.
And we'll link through to it in the show notes if it's out before Friday.
Gareth, Barrel Age Leeds. Since supermarkets have jumped on the bandwagon, my spend in usual Leeds Indies hasn't changed, increased if anything, but I expect I'll be able to spend less on beer in the near future, so having a cheaper range of decent beers may come in handy. I think he's expecting, isn't he?
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Absolutely.
So, and he'll be probably spending a few more nights in. So
Yeah.
having a few go-to beers in the fridge from the supermarket won't be doing his purse any harm.
Yeah, so a couple of other quotes here. It's Michelle Daniels again. You're Michelle.
Yep.
You can't beat the personal interaction from your local bottle shop. I love supporting my locals. I've got to agree with that. I mean, I've always said that about particularly Little Leeds Beer House. The service that you get when you go in there. Same with Hot Burns and Black as well. When you go in, you take the time to get to know the people. It becomes very personal in terms of their interaction. Cy at Leeds Beer Wolf. If we all had an endless pot of money, then we would shop at Indies. Supermarkets are a great place to get some quality fillers, which is I think very much lends itself to my view on it.
Yeah.
As well. So yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of. I mean, I've got to say right now, I would love to be able to keep up with everybody's tweets, and already I'm thrilled with the amount of interaction that we're getting this evening. It's just not going to be possible for us to mention every single person that's having a comment tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Katie Holiday, recently I've made more of an effort to use local bottle shops over supermarket or mail order, use Indies when I do order online. There's no one here that said they're not doing both.
That's true.
Most people, with the exception of Phil from Otter's Tears, who said I'm not doing that, but everyone else has said there seems to be a bit of a mix and match going on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Sam, I don't know if did you read this one? Sam at Slow Poke Sam, as I'm sure you've heard, supermarket for drinking beer, Indies for special beer, which again I think lends itself to what we were saying before. And that was on the poll number 3. Have you stopped buying beer from independent stockists, which is up to 80 votes, 25 minutes left. What else have we got here? I think we've got some regular ones. We've got Paul at UNRCD. Good that my non-craft drinking mates can stop drinking macro beers. Also, the good independent shops will survive, the bad ones will go, in my opinion. Which I think sort of again lends itself to what we were saying. Billy's Mullet. Bottle shops. I think this is part 2 of a message actually. So let's see if I can get the first bit of it. All 3 messages actually. Is it impacting on independent businesses though, which is you've asked to Phil. Billy's Mullet's come back. I use supermarkets for occasional beer, but they will never compete with variety and quality of bottle shops. Part of the attraction of craft beer for me is trying new beers. Supermarkets change lines infrequently, so that variety comes from bottle shops, and so they will always have the edge, even if they can't compete on price for a relatively few beers. So again, a lot of the similar sort of comments are coming out there, I think, from people with these polls at the moment. I love the reaction from telling my friends and family outside of London, oh, you can get our beer in X now. They love the ease of access. And that's from Natalie Davey at NatDK. And that was in response again to poll 4. I seem to be only seeing poll 4 at the moment.
And I've got to say, Natalie works for Camden Town Brewery as well. So it's just shows the reach that their beers are now getting, I think, in the UK. Formerly only really available in London.
Yeah, well, I think it's anything. It's I would without the supermarkets, I wouldn't be drinking Northern Monk regularly.
No, well, I wouldn't anymore.
No, because you're not going to Leeds.
I'm not going to Leeds, and as I've said again and again and again and again and again, the fact that I can now get 4 packs of New World IPA in Morrison's for just over £6 is just about the best thing that's happened to me this year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think what we got here from Paul White, saying the best £3.50 I've ever spent. I can't see what he's referring to.
Okay.
So this live element. Bring out the Impy by Alchemy Brewco. It has to be one of the best supermarket beers around. And at £3.50, that sounds pretty good, decent value.
That is pretty good value. So what about let's just for a moment just
breathe.
Excellent. Have a drink. What are we thinking on the Harbour Little Rock IPA? I mean, it's a very English style IPA, isn't it?
It's I'm gonna probably it's a very English style IPA, but it feels like it's. I might be completely wrong with the dates, but it feels like it's been warehouse aged. I don't know what the dates are like on it, but that's what it reminds me of at the moment.
It's not printed very well. So at the moment, the label says best before the 1st of the 20th. I hope that's not the first 2020.
But it's a very English sweet IPA, but it hasn't got enough of that crisp, dry bitterness I like from a 5% plus IPA.
Yeah, you want something. I mean, 6.3%.
It's just a bit out of sync for me.
I'm going to say it. I'm glad we shared that can.
I would say that, yeah, as well.
Because that would have started to have warmed in the glass, and I would have started to struggle with
It would
that.
have got cloying.
Yeah, and that's not how I want my IPAs.
No, so how do you want your IPAs, Steve?
I want my IPAs how we're about to have them, which is in a 4-pack from Morrison's, and they're in green cans, and they're cold, and they come in one of these little carry things.
Oh, they look very handy.
As well.
Tell you what, those carry things. Are we putting a glass or straight from the can?
Straight from
the can.
From the can on this one.
Okay,
we're
so
doing supermarkets. We're doing it properly, mate. So this is a New World IPA.
That was like an episode. That was like an episode from Men Behaving Badly, there, just with better beer. So what else have we got? So Simon Clark has replied to Colin's earlier tweet. Good for people with limited no access to decent bottle shop. Not everyone lives in the sprawling metropolis of beer cities. # craft beer hour.
We've said that a lot of times, haven't we?
Yeah.
That not everybody lives in cities, so they can't necessarily get access to some of the best beers that are around.
Yeah, so again, another reply on this again. The owl lady, don't have one on my doorstep, but there are some fabulous shops who deliver, and she's gone into name check a few: Beer Rev Hay, Beer Central, Rainville Leeds, UK Beer Garage. But sometimes you don't want to order a case of 12.
No, you absolutely don't.
So again, yes, they do deliver, but you have to be prepared to order quantity as well. So what we got? Bushcraft beer again. Poll number 4. Is supermarkets increasing their beer ranges? Was the question. So Bushcraft beer said, are they increasing? Thought they were just changing their composition of beer in their range. I would say there's a bigger beer range than there was before.
I think there's a massively bigger range than there was before.
Yeah, I don't think it's just the composition, because they still have their macro lager, their macro beers. But I think they've actually increased what we would class as craft.
Yeah.
So I'm going to see if I can type something back to that.
Yeah, I've gone a little bit quiet because I'm just in the middle of doing a little bit of a tweet to share what our current recording studio looks like with an array of empty bottles and cans all over it.
How very picturesque.
Yes.
I would definitely say the range has increased. I think it's quantity and quality.
Absolutely. I mean, if you just look at some of the things that you can find in supermarkets now. I mean, you can almost go from the top down in terms of you've got Stone IPA available in supermarkets now. So previously you could have only ever got that from online stockists, and it would have been old coming across from the States.
Well, I suppose that's the advantage that our friends at Stone Berlin do have, is that those beers are now coming to the UK a lot fresher, a lot quicker, and we can get, like I said, the M&S had stuff which was 5 weeks old.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've definitely, I would say, that I wonder if any other US brewers of the ilk of Stone will do anything similar. So forgetting about that, having to have that whole cold storage chain being the whole big thing to get it from one side of the world to the other, if you only have to transport it lesser distance, then perhaps that becomes less of a worry, especially in cans.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, if in the 3 Stone beers that I mentioned earlier, the go-to IPA and the Belgique, I've had those recently as well, and they've been fantastic.
Yeah. And
to know that they've been brewed a lot closer does make you think straight away, well, this is going to be better.
It's going to be a little bit fresher.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how are we doing on any of the polls? I keep seeing poll 4. Why do I only see poll 4?
It's because it's possibly the one that people are loving the most. Right, let's go back to the polls. Let's just run through the polls again. I kind of feel like this feels a little bit like the election special.
It does. We haven't got a swingometer.
I want one of those virtual studios where I get to walk down.
Well, the different things come up in the background.
So poll 1, how often do you buy beers from supermarkets? 111 votes now. Still the most popular one, 41% is once a month. Poll 2, what's your average monthly spend? 102 votes on this one. less than 10% at 44%, still leading that one. Poll 3 hasn't changed at all. We've got have you stopped buying beer from independent stockists because of supermarket ranges? At 95% on 111 votes. And poll 4, which is the one that's getting the most votes at the moment, which is probably why we're getting the most interaction out of it, is supermarkets increasing their beer ranges good, bad or indifferent? And we've still got 82% of people saying that that is a good thing.
Yeah, latest comment on that one that I saw was from Hopinions. If a non-craft drinker gets their first taste of good beer having stumbled across it in the supermarket and ends up drinking your beer though, ... So the implication is there again, we're talking gateway, aren't we? This is your entrance to a brave new world.
So are supermarkets now the gateway to craft beer?
Potentially.
That probably should almost be a fifth poll.
And what it does mean is that when I get Christmas presents from those people who don't know me that well, but say I like beer, I might not get one of those Marston's cases like I have done in the past.
Maybe you're going to get something a little bit decent.
Yeah. I might get a Brewdog case, which again, I'll be happy with that. You know, rather than one of the Green King ones or the Marston's ones. I can see upsides to the supermarket beers, definitely. The bearded one. Some breweries that have grown then can decide what route they want to go. They've built it, they deserve it. Which again, I think was relating to poll number 4. Your question, is it impact on independent business though, Steve? You said. Just ask beers at Hopinions from Rhythm Brews. I guess the answer is no. Different audiences and different needs, and so I think that's a good question. That's what a good answer is what we were saying before. Petrus is 6 for $7.99 in Lidl.
Yes, I've seen that. As
well. That's the Petrus was the beers we did for the pilot show, wasn't it?
It was
almost a year ago.
It was indeed, and now available.
Yeah, in a supermarket.
Absolutely. So again, we'll take a breath for a second.
Yeah.
New World IPA from Northern Monk, India Pale Ale, coming in at, I should know the ABV on this.
Is it 6.2?
6.2. What are you thinking on this?
Bloody brilliant!
Isn't it just?
It's a fantastic beer.
It's my new staple. It
must be the colour green for you as well, because Axe Edge, Cannonball,
Jackhammer,
New World IPA all have an element of green in them.
Anything that comes in a green can and has the words IPA on the label does it for me. It would appear.
You're definitely going to try it without thinking about it, aren't you?
Absolutely, because 4 for 4 is you just simply can't argue with that.
No. I mean, I wouldn't be getting hold of this. Simple as that. If it weren't for like the likes of M&S and Morrison's.
Absolutely.
So I thank you for picking up a 4-pack, Steve.
You're very welcome, and we are going to enjoy our way about this.
Definitely, I needed that
It's
because
really
give me a bit of a breather. So
yes,
again, poll 4.
Poll 4 still going nuts, is it?
Yeah, there's no excuse not to buy independently unless you don't have a postcode. Plenty of great online stockists such as Optimism Beers. But yeah, again, that brings me back to the thing, you need to order a case.
You do.
Sometimes you don't need to order a case.
Yeah.
If I want a 4-pack or 6 beers, or want to buy 2 or 3, I don't want to have to order 12. Because what do you do with Beer Central, Steve? You build up a case over a couple of months, maybe.
No, it's generally over a 3 to 4 week period. So right. I will build up a case with Sean where I will ask him to put beers that he's tweeting into my box, and it builds up a bespoke case. So I'm not having to buy what is there available on the screen for me at that time. I can build it up to my own tastes, and he will then post that to me. So essentially what I get is a box of beers that I want. So, and from time to time you have to accept that. So in my latest box, which I started 3 weeks ago now, I put a bottle of the Buxton Kingslayer, which is a double IPA. Now I've got to appreciate that by the time that gets to me, it's going to be 4 weeks old.
Yeah, but that's a brilliant service that he provides. I know that's sort of expanding for him as well from what you said, but that's no good for fill up your fridge for tomorrow night.
No, because if I suddenly, if you look at the forecast for this weekend, in the south at least, it's pure sunshine. So I'm thinking barbecue this weekend, nothing in the fridge to have with barbecue. I can go to Morrison's and get 2 4-packs of New World IPA. I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
I've got New World IPA and burgers. job done.
Yeah, you're just having a party for one, aren't you, Steve?
Absolutely. It's just
You're not
me.
inviting anyone, are you?
No, I'm just going to sit out there. I'm going to eat all the burgers and drink all the beer. A few other comments coming in. So we've got a Phil Hardy still coming back saying, Asda are now bringing in 130 lines, or have I imagined that?
I hadn't heard that.
I've not heard that either. I mean, there are so many people getting involved tonight, and we are really grateful to every single person. I'm really sorry we can't reply or retweet everything that we're seeing and hearing here. So we've got Rhythm and Blues. My first Jaipur was from Tesco, and I'd hands down pay my firstborn son for a cask pint. I'd just like to confirm that's probably worth it, actually, because I've had a pint of cask.
But you did have it at Thornbridge as well.
I did have it at Thornbridge, the perfect place to have it. Miles Lambert, if an indie can't price match a beer in a supermarket, it frees up space in the indie for another smaller brewery to fill. Great point there from Miles.
Jamie Day, this was the guy who said he wasn't impressed with our first beer because he was tasting it at the same time. He's having beer number 2, which is the Thornbridge Tart.
Only on to beer number 2, catch up.
Yeah, I know, come on. Pull your finger out, man.
Come on, where's the effort in that?
Had before, but tasting tartastic. Still amazing we can buy sour beer in Tesco.
Absolutely. It might not be my thing, but that does not pass me by that you can now buy a sour beer in Tesco.
Exactly. From Andy T, Topo UK, their buying power means a good price but limited selection from maybe 20 to 50 beers as opposed to hundreds from an indie shop. That was in response to poll number 3. Have you stopped buying beers from independent stockists? I mean, yes is only sitting at 5%. No is at 95% out of 111 votes. So, I mean, that's a pretty high number of us are still supporting our independent stockists online or in the shops or both.
Yeah, and we've got a comment from Mark at Million Bevs on that as well. Nope, I'd say the rise and ease of online purchases has had more of an impact than supermarkets. Nothing can replace my locals though. I don't think there's a better feeling than going in to buy one beer and coming away with 12.
Yeah. But again, like I still put it down to if I want to top up a few beers in the fridge there and then, an online order doesn't help me.
No, it doesn't, because you do inevitably have to wait. So we're into the last 10 minutes of the polls. Not really a lot of movement on the most popular choices within each of the polls. We will revisit those at the end and just give some final views. I've got to say, I'm blown away with the amount of votes that we've got.
Loads of votes.
In a 30-minute period.
Loads of votes.
If this many people can get involved in that short amount of time, why aren't you all getting involved on a Sunday night in the normal polls? That's what I'm
that's
going to say.
because they know we're shouting out as well and hoping to hear us some carnage when they listen to the show. James Garen Barron, hopefully my non-craft drinking buddies will find their gateway beer there. Then they might come to some decent beer festivals, barbecue beers. I don't know if that means he wants them to bring decent barbecue beers when he's hosting a barbecue.
Well, I'll just put this out there now. Again, in a few weeks' time, we've got our annual
Clay Fest
share meat fest, which we've entitled Clay Fest. Any of the folks that are going to be at that are listening to this, just expect me to bring loads of Numero IPA, because that's now my new beer.
That's what's coming to the party.
Absolutely.
Simon Clark, in response to the one about the various comment about, on bottle shops and not living in the metropolis of beer cities. Yeah, some great mail order options, although a hassle if you're never home to receive a delivery. And I can agree with that one. That is a pain in the arse. So either my beers get delivered to Michelle, which means her little cul-de-sac now thinks she's a bit of an alcoholic, or they get delivered to my office, which means that everyone confirms that they think I'm an alcoholic.
It's interesting that, because again, I'm just going to refer back to the service that Sean provides from Beer Central. I will tell Sean when I want my beers delivered, and he will deliver them on that day. So I will know if I'm going to be around or not for when the beers arrive. So we've still got some people, still loads of people getting involved, trying to keep up with all the beers that are being drunk. Somebody's moved on to McKellar. Guessing that's not come from a local supermarket, but good luck on them.
Which one? They're not drinking your favourite one, are they?
No, it's a milk stout, milkshake, something, one of those ones. Mark Young at Mark Monkey Young. I started with a supermarket range, e.g. Sierra Nevada, and sought out indies as a result.
Sierra Nevada, great beer.
Again, you know, it's people are saying that supermarkets are the new gateway to craft beer, and that's something that we certainly would love to hear from our regular listeners on for next week's show. Tell us if you think that supermarkets are now the gateway for craft beer.
Yeah.
Just tweet us, use the hashtag Hopinions.
We'll throw it in there.
And we'll look to feature that on next week's show.
Poll number 3, up to 154 votes, 6 minutes left. Drank, John. Damn.
Yes,
Bastard.
normally it's me that gets caught out with that one.
Bastard.
You deserve that.
I wasn't expecting this poll to be so one-sided, but maybe the audience isn't representative, ? And in response to that himself, are supermarkets pushing new casual craft drinkers closer towards independent bottle shops or further away from them? I'm not sure. I think it's a good point. I maintain that anything which brings good / great beers to the masses or to more people is a good thing.
I think it is. And, you know, if somebody goes into a supermarket and they come out with, I'm going to use the example again, a 4-pack of New World Ipa, and they enjoy it, but they want to push their tastes a bit further, you're not going to get anything more than that in a supermarket. You're going to have to start seeking out your independence for that. So the Owl Lady, when does a chain become a supermarket? Still don't equate that moniker with M&S, even though it is one.
Of course it's a supermarket.
Is it though? It's a clothes shop.
Someone's responded to your picture you took.
Yep.
Must be a special occasion if the Quantum of Solace mouse mat is out. Would you like to explain to the listeners why the Quantum of Solace mouse mat is around?
The mouse mat is there because it reduces the amount of bangs and thumps that you hear through the microphone because it's absorbed within the mouse mat.
Yeah, it's not because it's our favourite Bond film or even Daniel Craig's best outing as Bond either.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different thing. You can listen to Opinions on film about that one day.
One day in about 4 years' time.
Yeah, when we do a Bond poll.
When we eventually get round to featuring Bond. Wow, we're into the last 15 minutes of Craft Beer Hour.
Yeah.
Mate, this has flown by. I still don't feel as though we're interacting with as many people as we could be online. We are trying to get to everybody's tweets.
And we can always have a bit of after hours, so we can always respond to it. But
people are, and not everyone's going to listen to the show, but we would love to hear again from our listeners, from our regular listeners, if they think this has worked or not as well. Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like a bit of a clusterfuck, but I'm having a good time. Yeah,
I think what you mean. Whether we do it again, even without the Craft Beer Hour thing, do the live polling and talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing if we can come up with stuff. Miles has just meant you mean the Scottish brewery because no one's actually mentioned them.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming everyone knows who we're talking about with that one. Interesting from Bob Maxfield replying to a few of us. The Sainsbury's we visited did have Williams Brewery in, including Steve's Epiphany beer,
which is the Caesar Augustus lager IPA hybrid, which apparently they've stopped stocking southern supermarkets.
Yes, I think that's the point you made. So Bob is Midlands.
Yeah.
So it obviously gets as far as the Midlands and then they go no.
And then stops.
None of that for you southern Jessies.
It's still available now in cans as well from their website.
But you only wanted a couple, I presume, anyway.
I only wanted a couple. I don't want to buy 12 cans of it. And I equally don't want to buy 2 cans and pay £7 postage. So we've got 5 minutes left on the polls. They're not really moving any further. I think they've kind of began to plateau out a little bit, which will enable us just to dip in and maybe just respond to a few other tweets that have been coming in throughout the evening. So Biley's Mullet at Biley's Mullet has been getting right involved tonight with some beers. He's currently drinking Toast, which is the beer made from leftover bits of bread.
Yeah, that's the one. Rachel did a recent post about that, about food shortages and other breweries getting in on this as well.
Yeah.
Apparently, bread is the most wasted product, the thing that we throw away the most.
I can probably agree with that. I do seem to get through an amazing amount of bread. We've got Bottle Monkey at @bottle_monkey. Well, the state of craft beer in supermarkets is definitely better than the state of the England football team. And he's holding a can of Dow's Pale Ale, which is, again, Dow's Pale Ale now available in Tesco, which...
I would have lost my shit about that a few years ago.
2 years, a year ago, I was still getting excited when I was seeing Dow's Pale Ale on keg in predominantly in the Scottish brewery bars.
Yeah,
I believe, and now you can buy it in cans in Tesco's, for fuck's sake.
I've lost track of one of these conversations. So Mark the Gas Man was talking about a box of 6 Patrice for £8. Sean Paul, both boxes in the Lidl, must get down there. And then Space Cable, I can't go to the street Lidl as my first boyfriend is the manager and still hasn't forgiven me for breaking his heart. Hashtag get over it. Mark the Gasman, Wells it is then. Space Cable, no my luck, he'd be on cover in Wells or something. Also, he married a Caroline, awkward. So I don't know if that's what her name is as well.
Okay.
So I was just quite enjoying that little tangent that was going on there about someone's previous love life who I don't even know.
So we're into the last 2 minutes of the poll. How are you doing with your new World IPA?
I'm hoping you're going to offer me the second one from the 4-pack.
I'm not. We're going to save that for craft beer after hours because I do want to get into our final beer from the supermarkets to kind of complete a range of beers that we've been drinking.
Is this our stout?
This is our stout. So as I mentioned earlier on, I struggled to find anything more than IPAs, which normally isn't a problem for me, but for this particular evening I wanted a range of beers. So eventually I found this from Redwell. It's a Kofra stout, which I do believe is Kofra is a coffee brand, and this has won an award in the International Beer Challenge.
Yeah, but isn't there about 500 awards?
There is, and it's also won the World Beer Awards as well.
Okay, while you're pouring, so going back to your question you asked earlier, which is in response to Phil's, is it impacting independent business? This has been carried on a bit in the background, but I hadn't noticed. So I suppose Phil says, Rob, you could turn that question on its head. Why aren't the supermarkets seeking and supporting those breweries? And then Tim Rowe at Polymath Tim. So that was in response to Rob's question, don't you then search out breweries that don't have that scale of distribution? Tim Rowe, we could turn that 90 degrees and ask why if supermarkets looking into craft, they aren't also earnestly looking into cold chain. I mean, let's face it, they're the most equipped to do so. If they make it the norm, then we make the start of Jolly Good Beer the norm. Don't get me started, please, says Jolly Good Beer, especially on the topic of supermarkets. No, we want you to get started. That was the whole point.
So it's an argument kicking off in the background.
Yeah, so come on, share it.
And that will no doubt continue into the evening. So just before we do the final results of the polls, I am in the process of tweeting some bits about. Look, tonight's focus has been about supermarket beers and the growing range and the availability and how great that availability is. Let's not forget though that independent stockists are what are bringing some of the best beers in the world to drinkers in the UK right now, and they exist up and down the country. They're online. We're lucky enough to work with a number of providers to bring discounts to people to be able to buy great beers online. But also, just don't forget your local independent store, because they will give you that friendly service. They will give you that. They'll spend time chatting to you about your beer choices. And as great as supermarkets are, I really don't think beer would be where it is without independent stockists right now.
Not only that, it doesn't replace the knowledge. So even when my mum and dad ran the off licence and it was a company off licence, my mum and dad still had to go off and they would get sent stuff to try. They would go off on maybe a day's tasting and stuff. People would ask them a question, they would have a modicum of knowledge. And you can't walk into a supermarket and ask someone that.
No, because all they're there to do is essentially stock the shelves.
Stock the shelves and sell you the stuff and get you out again.
Yeah.
That's it. That's their job.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not get knowledge. You do not get the information. You can't walk up to someone and say, really would, you've got the Brewdog Granger, but you're missing one of them. Can you order them in for next week for me and I'll pop in? That doesn't happen in a supermarket. Whereas your independent stockist will say, okay, tell us what you like. We'll help you out. That's what they do. So by no means are we advocating one over the other.
No.
For me, my beer world is big enough for both.
Yeah. And for us tonight has been a way of driving a hell of a lot of engagement on Craft Beer Hour as well. So we've run 4 polls throughout the evening. We'll get into the results of those polls.
Oh, sorry, just to interrupt
in
you.
a second.
That's really nice.
What about the beer?
Lovely.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've had a good go on that?
Yeah.
I'm liking the nose
The
on it.
nose is lovely. I mean, that was a really good
really
start with the
subtle
nose.
coffee on the nose.
That's delicious. What does that come in at, strength-wise?
Oh yeah, that is good actually. It's nice and light.
Yeah.
And again, served cold, absolutely perfect. That is.
Doesn't drink like 5.9.
No,
It's got a lovely,
absolutely not right.
lovely chocolate sweetness strain through it, hasn't it?
Yeah. Let's wrap these polls up. Let's wrap Craft Beer Hour up. Let's wrap this goddamn Forsaken show up as well. So, poll number 1. How often do you buy beer from supermarkets? 145 votes in the end. 41% of people saying once a month. 30% once a week. 23% rarely. And only 6% saying never. So, interesting. Most people are buying once a month. Poll number 2. What's your average monthly spend on beers from the supermarket? 125 votes. 43% saying less than £10. 42% saying 10 to 20. 15% saying £20 plus. Poll number 3. Have you stopped buying beer from independent stockists because of supermarket ranges? 188 votes. 91% of people saying no. They are still buying beers from independent stockists. And then finally, poll number 4. Is supermarkets increasing their beer ranges? 211 votes. The most popular poll of the evening. 81% of people saying it's a good thing. Only 5% of people saying it's bad. And 14% of people are indifferent. So those are the views on the poll. Let's get our final thoughts on this subject. And let's sum it up in terms of supermarkets. Good thing or bad thing, mate?
Good.
I'm with you on that. I can't disagree. Many times I've said, for me it's about buying go-to beers. I still put a lot of money into independent stores. You know, I have a regular monthly box from Beer Central, and I will always seek out an independent store if I'm in a new town as well, because I want to see what they've got on offer, and I want to understand what that local knowledge is as well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I did that when I was abroad. I did that when I was in Cherbourg on the way back from the cruise. Ended up spending 4 hours at a bottle shop. So for me, it's good. There's room in my life for both, and I hope that's sort of reflected across everyone else, so that indies can live with supermarkets. If there's enough room for both, then I think we're all in a good place.
Absolutely, and I think for us, you know, we've done supermarkets a few times on podcasts now.
True, but it keeps changing, it keeps evolving, doesn't it?
It does keep evolving, but I'm going to say for now, I think let's put this one to bed.
Well, we have said to people to tweet us if they've got further comments.
We'll cover any views that people might have next week, but I don't think we're going to come back in and be discussing supermarkets again, unless we suddenly see in a couple of months' time, all of a sudden, supermarket stocking another new great range of beers. Craft Beer Hour is almost at an end.
This hour goes quickly, doesn't it?
We've got a final question here from Jamie Day at Not Just a Beer, JD. You can only go into your most local supermarket and buy one beer. What is it? Martin?
My most local supermarket would be the Co-op over the road, so it's Adam's Ghost Ship.
My most local supermarket is Tesco's. However, if I pretend that doesn't exist, I can get to Morrison's And
No, I chose the Co-op because it's the closest.
okay, my closest. I've got like a Londis, and that's going to be like special brew.
It doesn't. It's Tesco's.
Tesco.
Come on, answer it as Tesco.
I'm gonna probably go for Stone IPA in Tesco's.
It's not a bad shout, is it?
Not 180 a can.
No, that's not bad at all.
Absolutely not. I think we're about there, mate. We're going to finish off this Kofra Stout.
Rather nice. I've
Redwell.
almost finished mine while you've been chatting.
I'm really enjoying it. I feel as I've done a lot of chatting tonight, and you've done a lot of drinking.
Yeah, but I've done some tweeting.
Although you've done a great job tweeting from the official account for the first time. Well done, and I'm sure.
Do you know how long it takes to do the little lines with the M in the middle as well?
Absolutely. Next week. For regular listeners,
bad luck. There is still a next week as well.
Yeah, we're going to be on location next week. We are going to do a Spoons special. We're actually going to record in my local Wetherspoons, and we're going to talk about the beers that they've got on offer and just what people think about Wetherspoons. So, if you want to get in on that action early, again, use the hashtag Hopinions and let us know what you think of your local spoons. But next week we're going to be drinking a lot of Dirty Cask beer.
There goes my dad's vouchers at the end of the month.
And I think that brings us very, very nicely to the end of Craft Beer Hour.
Craft beer in that case.
It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. I've really enjoyed this.
Cheers, Steve.
Cheers.
Are you ready to go shopping? Step inside a very special supermarket. The only supermarket in the world that gives you money.